It's time for another edition of Around the Nest 2.0. A light one today as we welcome in Bob Lipman from AA New Hampshire and from Low A Dunedin, Andrew Thriffiley. Good to have you gentlemen along with us, alongside our intrepid producer, Leo Mui, Tyler Zickel from the Vancouver Canadians. And let's jump in and start at the bottom of the ladder. Low A Dunedin, AT, coming to us al fresco today. You're outside. Where in the world is the man who does it all for the DJs?
Yeah, we're in Lakeland, Florida again. If we can get a classic Southeast League tarp on the field prior to game time, always great to see. Yeah, series so far, up and down as usual. Like I said last week, we win some and we lose some, and that's the way of the Dunedin Blue Jays these days.
That certainly has been the theme of the season. There have been ups, there have been downs, and there have been some plateaus as well. We talked about some history made last week, and since then, the DJs continuing to plug along. A couple of close ones against Lakeland. I think an extra innings game in the mix. So overall, AT, from the last 6 games, how have the DJs been presenting, if you will?
I mean, we were looking at it yesterday or the other day, actually. We have, I think, 4 guys left on our roster that have just been on the roster the whole time, instead of whether it be on the IL or being called up to Vancouver. That's PK Morris. Or no, I think even PK was. It's Miguel Geraldo, it's Mac Mueller, it's Naswell Paulino, and it's Alejandro Meleon. So 4 guys in the whole roster that have stuck with us through the whole season. So it's just been a ton of roster turnover. Guy that I haven't talked about really all season, I feel like, is Miguel Geraldo, but he's been putting together just a very consistent, solid season. Stepped up a lot since O got called up, honestly. And I mean, a high-ranked prospect, so very negligent of me to not talk about him more. But hitting over around 250 all season, just playing well.
Always good to see guys who have been with the club for a little while continue to contribute, and certainly hard to find traction when you have all the roster churn, though. Certainly a part of life in the minor leagues and in the Blue Jays system. A wealth of talent means there's going to be a lot of frequent flyer miles for a number of those guys going back and forth. If you had to pick, Andrew, who's at the top of your list who could potentially earn a September call up to high A, and trust me, no personal bias from this question for me, who would be the guy if you were the GM or if you were Charlie Wilson making the call to get that promotion?
So I heard of news, and maybe we can't mention it, or maybe we can, or people already know about it, I'm sure. But one pitcher yesterday might have gotten slightly injured. Who knows? We'll see. CJ Van Eyck might have been injured. So I think next man up, the guy that threw a no-hitter, Trent Palmer, might be next on that list, or maybe Naswell Paulino, who won a Player of the Week honor earlier in the season and just been consistent all year. Those are 2 guys that I think, if you're looking for a pitcher now, could come up and maybe get a start or 2 before the season ends.
Certainly we'll keep an eye on Palmer and Paulino. And yes, as it relates to CJ Van Eyck, he was as dialed in as he had been all season through 2 perfect innings in his start against Hillsborough at Ron Tonkin Field yesterday as the visitors, cruising, and then did not go out for the 3rd. In fact, Andrew Bash took over, worked 3 innings, and got the win, which I'll touch on once we get to the Canadians update. The good news for Van Eyck, he was back in the dugout, sweatshirt on, but still dressed soon after he was removed. That said, of course, an abundance of caution for the Blue Jays as they look to make him a piece of the rotation for a long time in the future. Of course, last year's early round draft pick out of Florida State. So wishing health to CJ Van Eyck. We don't know what it is at the moment, but certainly we will be sending all the vibes, and whatever body part I can provide. If CJ needs it, I'll give it, because all I need is my voice and maybe this mug when we do our thing on every Friday. Now, AT, want to know on the player personality side, if you will, are there any guys who you've noticed are those real classic locker room guys who are kind of the glue for the DJs here in this late stretch?
I mean, Zach Britton's always a guy that likes to joke around with people. He's actually started to make the move back to the outfield just to see how the hitting translate from the outfield perspective instead of from the catching position, because I think he has taken pride in becoming a better catcher since it's been so long since he's done it. And he has been hitting better as an outfielder. So it's been great to see. But yeah, he's just a fun guy to be around. He keeps everybody loose. I think Steward Berroa is another one of those guys that when he's not playing, he's always in the dugout, coaching everybody up, trying to keep everybody in good spirits. The other day, our hitting coach, Matt Young, got thrown out, and Steward Berroa took right over, grabbed the binder with all the scouting reports, and was going up and down the dugout, making sure everybody knew what was coming up. And he played hitting coach for a couple innings. So
everybody pulling on the same side of the rope. We love to hear that. Next man up mentality down there in low A, and certainly it's been successful in the second half of the season, as we've talked about a lot here on the Nest over the last couple of weeks. AT, I want to leave with this, a personal question. You've been to much of the ballparks around the low A Southeast as you continue to be the guy, capital T, capital D for the DJs. No, capital G. I have an English degree, allegedly. What's the ballpark that has the best ballpark food in the low A Southeast?
Oh, it's a tough question. I mean, Lakeland is very nice. I think if I have to give one, I would go
AT, I hate to make you say it again, but you started chunking there right as you were telling us what that ballpark is. So if you can do it quickly to try and get you past some maybe spotty service there at Joker Merchant Stadium, tell us again what that second ballpark was.
I think I said Fort Myers.
Nice.
I think that's the Hammond Stadium. It's just a nice, clean ballpark, great press area, which I think we all appreciate. So,
did they serve mussels there, or would that be cannibalism?
Well, disappointing. They did not.
Yeah,
terrible.
That is a bummer for sure. AT, as always, thanks for the updates, especially the mobile edition as you are doing the tour with the DJs here in the final stretch. So as always, a pleasure to have you alongside as we welcome you and say goodbye for now on another edition of Around the Nest from Low A Southeast. AT, thanks as always, my friend.
Thank you very much. Always good to be on.
A quick Vancouver Canadians update. Not going to bore anybody with a monologue as I have in the past, but nice to see the Seas get a win last night, Thursday, August 26th, taking down the Hops in a battle for the Burrow. Couple of roommates going head-to-head, an 8-6 win. As we mentioned, Van Eyck had to leave early. The bullpen picked him up. Andrew Bash, terrific over 3 innings of work. In fact, gave up 2 runs in his first inning in the third, and from there was excellent and was able to stop the bleeding after just 2, kept it a 1-run deficit, and then back-to-back 3-run innings in the 4th and the 5th helped the Canadians take game 3, and they'll go for a series split through the first 4 with Adam Kloffenstein on the mound tonight. Kloff's been great. In fact, last time out against Tri-City last week, he got his 3rd quality start of the year. Went 6 innings, 3 runs on 3 hits, walked a batter, and struck out 7. He is in the midst of his best month of the year. August really has been the Adam Kloffenstein that the Blue Jays signed a couple of years ago out of high school, and certainly somebody who looked all the bit the 88th round or 88th overall pick, 3rd round selection out of Magnolia High School in his hometown of Magnolia, Texas. So it has been fun to watch. You know what? In the spirit of being as precise as we possibly can, let's tell you about those August splits for Adam Kloffenstein in this last full month of the year. 2 wins, a loss, a 4.15 ERA over 21 2/3 innings pitched, and opponents are batting .213. So not only has he put up the lowest ERA in his 4 months in his first year in high A in this last month of August, but that .213 opponent's batting average significantly less than the 3 months prior. So it's good to see the development from Kloffenstein as he continues to build. And this is a newly minted 21-year-old, celebrated his 21st birthday last night. He lived to tell the tale, so that's always a good sign. So looking forward for more of that from Kloff. A couple of other guys I have to mention, Spencer Horwitz and Tanner Morris. Hits last night for the 2 of them, and they now have a knock in 15 consecutive games. That is a Canadians season high for any hitter. Luis de los Santos had set the previous mark with 10 consecutive games with a hit, but Morris and Horwitz, who is the reigning High A West Player of the Week, continuing their hot stretch. Last week, to earn the award, the Timonium, Maryland native was 13 for 21. That's a .619 batting average, 3 doubles, a couple of homers on back-to-back games, both of which were in big spots as he continues to be one of the most clutch players for Donnie Murphy's club this year. Also drove in 6 runs and walked 5 times. He leads the High A West with 64 free passes. He has told me his personal goal is 70 walks, and I think he has a great chance to potentially get to 80. Today is game 100. And of course, we're playing 120 games in the High A West League this year. So certainly a chance for Horwitz to establish a new career best and a guy who for me, has been one of the most consistent hitters all season long for the Canadians. And the same is true for Tanner Morris. Might be the most sneaky talent, not just on the roster for Vancouver, but in all of the High A West, somebody who's been fun to watch. And in this offseason, if he can put on a little extra weight, he is going to rocket up the prospect rankings. And by the end of it, could certainly be in that top 15, maybe in the top 10 area if he continues to develop and grow a little bit more, just his first full pro season coming out of the University of Virginia. And lastly, Sem Roberse. Certainly a guy we've had lots of fun talking about. AT down in Low A. I certainly know that you've loved Sem. He's been a blast to have. And you know what? You guys could be brothers now that I've had a chance to meet Sem, look at him in the face, kind of see how he moves. And obviously you and I haven't met in person, but certainly a guy who could be your younger brother at just 19 years old. So cheers to Sem Roberse. Put up a quality start earlier this week, took the loss, didn't get some help behind him, but 6 innings, 3 earned runs. And certainly we saw that number 13 prospect that he has been titled as after the prospect rankings got edited a couple of weeks ago. So exciting to see Sem do his thing. And lastly, on our Elvis Martinez update, it's not been the greatest here in High A after he got off to that hot start. The average right around 170, but he did homer earlier this week and also had an RBI single and worked the walk and scored a run last night. He is consistently in the 4-hole, not just because of the Blue Jays telling him so, but Martinez wants to be challenged. I was talking to hitting coach Ryan Wright after the game yesterday, and Elvis Martinez, he knows what he's capable of. He wants to be challenged. He's not afraid of failure. So for me, that tells me that the 19-year-old certainly has some wisdom and maturity beyond his years, and a guy certainly who we can all be excited about going forward. That's all I've got for High A. And with that in mind, let's go one rung up the ladder to the upper minors, the voice of the Granite State, and the man who has been with the Fisher Cats since their inception, Mr. Bob Lipman. Bob, good day. Happy Friday.
Oh, happy Friday, Zick, and good to be back with you. And I had one of those once every few years kind of calls last night for the Fisher Cats as speedster Tanner Kirwer hit just the 7th inside the park home run in Fisher Cats history last night in New Hampshire's 10-3 win over Binghamton. A lot of fun. And our Uber intern, Nathan Strauss, sent me a message a little while ago that said he timed Kirwer around the base paths in 15.4 seconds. And I think they say under 17 is remarkable. So I'll tell you what Kirwer did.
He rounds the bases faster than I can chug a beer.
Well, maybe a little beer, you'd be all right. But for Kirwer, knocked one. It was one of those where the left and center fielders both went back to play a ball that landed just short of the wall. The center fielder slipped on the grass. The ball caromed away from the left fielder, and they pushed it, and Kirwer had the first inside the park home run. You'll remember the last one. It was John Birdie's walk-off inside the park home run against Erie back in 2018.
I will never forget Tyler Murray's call of that moment in what was, of course, a historic season, a big win late in the summer. John Birdie, fly ball to right. Daz Cameron, son of Mike, goes back to the wall, leaps at the wall, and he can't make the catch. That's Tyler Murray's call. Schneider's waving him all the way home, and John Birdie certainly cemented his status, not just as a Fisher Cats legend, but as a Blue Jays legend, and of course, doing his thing for the Miami Marlins these days. Another homer last night, a traditional one from Ryan Gold, his first Double-A home run, a guy I love to watch down in Vancouver. What have you liked from Goldie, a guy who was drafted out of high school all the way back in 2017?
Yeah, his defense has shined so far here in the early going. I love the way that he handles the pitching staff, and it does seem that he's been right on the same page these last few starts with Luis Quinones. They've looked good together. He was with recently promoted pitcher Nick Fraze last night, who picked up his first Double-A win. For Gold offensively, it certainly has been a little bit of a slow start. Last night, in fact, he came into the game with 1 RBI as a Fisher Cat. He ended up with 2 last night, one of them with his first Double-A home run, also had an RBI single in the next inning. And we saw Demi Orimoloye add another home run to his total last night. Gave a pretty good poke out to one in right center. So a 3-homer game for the Fisher Cats. But I'll touch on 2 guys. First of all, let's go back to your Magnolia, Texas connection. It was Kloffenstein and Jordan Groshans. Jordan, I did some numbers, and since July 10th, so we're talking about 6 weeks or so, Groshan's splits are 331, 407, 492. So you can certainly see the upside and the potential, and he's now doing this night in and night out at the AA level. Unfortunately, he's not in the Fisher Cat lineup tonight. I believe he would have been in the field tonight because he was the DH last night. Fouled a ball off of, I don't know if it was the foot or the area just above the foot. I'm not at the ballpark yet, and I will be in a little bit, but he had to come out of the ball game while batting in the bottom of the 8th inning last night. So let's hope that Jordan Groshan is okay. I know suffered a foot injury on a foul ball back early in his career that sidelined him for quite a little while. And I'll throw out one more name because we need to give the shout out to Chavez Young. When you all talked last week, Young was in the middle of a terrific series against Hartford. It paid off with the AA Northeast Player of the Week. And Young right now is on a 14 for 29 tear since the beginning of last week. Chavez last night had another hit for the Fisher Cats as they opened up a big early lead.
Certainly a lot of guys seeming to come into their own in the second half and down the home stretch here, Bob. Obviously, we've talked a lot about the rough start for the Fisher Cats, especially with all that talent at the start of the season, ranked as one of the most prospect-laden rosters in all of minor league baseball. But now it's a team hovering around 500. And although there have been some scuffles of late, nice to see the Cats find themselves, especially against Binghamton, a team that has been bad against everybody else. But for some reason, somehow they have had New Hampshire's number this year.
Yeah, Binghamton has won, and they won 2 series against the Fisher Cats earlier this year. The Fisher Cats start play tonight just 4-10 against Binghamton, club behind them in the standings. I will say this though, and you talk about the Fisher Cats pretty much have been a 500 club. They have won or split 10 of the last 11 series, and the only outlier in there was when they dropped 4 out of 5 to Binghamton back in Binghamton in July. So New Hampshire again continues to play good baseball. We're going to face a tough pitcher tonight in Cole Gordon, a guy who for Binghamton beat Portland with 7 innings last week. We'll see how the right-hander Riley Hovis fares in, I think this is his 10th start since joining the Fisher Cats from independent ball.
One last thing, Bob, can you tell us about John Harris?
Well, you know, as highly regarded coming in as you could be, right? He was a Toronto Blue Jay first-round draft pick who was a starter for a couple of years, battled injuries, and somehow found himself back on the New Hampshire roster this year, not being used in a starting role, but being used out of the bullpen. And the fastball is as good as it's been, 93, 94 miles per hour for the Fisher Cats. He's given up some solo home runs, but all in all, probably a guy who, you know, if he does stay healthy, could help somebody in the bullpen down the road. He's a terrific guy. Unfortunately, we've known him for a little bit too long here at the New Hampshire level.
Certainly the catch-22 of working in minor league baseball. We build these relationships with these guys. You're rooting for them. And of course you want them to leave. It's a weird situation where you say, goodbye, I don't want to see you again. Stay out of the level that you're leaving and continue your progression. But certainly of all the guys who have come through the Blue Jays system, John Harris, in my brief experience, which is now 4 seasons in, as you mentioned, Bob, truly a terrific guy who understands not just the burden of responsibility placed on him when he was signed as such a high pick, but also he keeps a good spirit about him. And I think you can't teach that. Guys in his situation might get frustrated, maybe even hang it up, but Harris trying to make it happen, and certainly a testament to his character.
He's 27 years old. So, you know, the move up has got to happen sooner rather than later for John. And let's hope that it'll be with the Blue Jays. And if not, I think he'll certainly have every opportunity to advance his career somewhere.
Bob, as always, appreciate the time. And it's wrestling night at the ballpark tonight. We've got a sumo bobble belly giveaway. You can either take home Rowdy Red or Bubba Blue. And to our listeners tuning in who are thinking, what are we talking about? All I ask is if you have an MILB TV subscription, make sure you're watching in the 6th inning tonight and every night. End 6, Rowdy Red, Bubba Blue, Battle Royale. And are there any odds yet, Bob, for who might take the title tonight in the namesake evening in terms of the promotional schedule? I know Rowdy Red talks a big game, but are the odds, have they been released by the odds makers there?
Rowdy Red is the favorite going into tonight. That splash move last night that put Bubba Blue out to sleep, I think is just one that is just playing on my mind a little bit too much.
Well, you can catch Bob Lipman on the call tonight as the Fisher Cats take on the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, AM 610 WGIR, NHFisherCats.com, and of course, MILB TV, one of the best productions in game and in between innings in my book, for sure. Tyler Murray, Bob Lipman, and the rest of the crew in New Hampshire. The Big Lipper. Bob, thank you very much.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Cheers, Bob. We'll wrap up with this. No Pat Malacaro today. He has some other duties at Salem Field and around the team. So unfortunately, Pat not able to give us a Bisons update, but in an odd twist of fate, not a lot of good news to share about the Bisons over their last 8 games, winners of 2 of their last 8, and they have lost 3 in a row to the Woo Sox at Polar Park. So certainly the Bisons trying to figure it out, and along the way, a team that's very much in the mix at the top of the AAA rankings, and certainly looking forward to Pat's update next week. So certainly a opportunity for us to get 2 weeks worth of information from the one and only Pat Malacaro when we come at you with our episode 1 week from now. That's going to do it for another edition of Around the Nest. A relatively light episode today, again, missing out on AAA Buffalo, but we always are happy to take what we can get, especially from our esteemed colleagues, Bob Lipman, as well as Andrew Thriffiley down there in Low A, Dunedin. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Always a pleasure getting together. And Leo, the master behind the scenes, our Wizard of Oz, if you will. And we will not go behind the screen for now. We're going to get you one day, Leo. But gentlemen, thanks as always. And until next time, all of us signing out and saying, go Blue Jays.